This mic here, Brad? Yes. All right. Okay. Well, welcome everyone. It's 2:00. It's time to kick off this year's HS&T Hokie pitch. I know you're all very excited. You've all worked very hard. I know you also, many of you started off this course saying, you know, who is this strange person with a strange accent teaching us stuff that appears not to be all that useful to our future career as biomedical scientists. Well, and maybe some of you are still thinking that, but hopefully you've now all got to the stage where you've realized that, you know, there could be some value in what we've done here. So anyway, looking forward to your pitches. There's a few things I need to say first, though, and I'm going to have to move away from the mic, Brad, because I want to. Oh, is that? Okay. 1, 2. Thing test it. There it is. Okay. So first thing I want to do is wave the shark's teeth around. Now I know there's money involved, and I know and I understand this generation is not as motivated by money as past generations. And you know, I understand that you realize that this is what it's all about. That winning the shark teeth is the key objective here. So there he is, Bruce the shark. Put that down to one side, and of course you'll have the honor of having your team's name embossed forever on the piece of wood here, if you should so will. All right, the next important thing I need to do is say some words of thanks. And so first up, I'd like to thank our lecturers. Do you have anybody online, Brad? Not currently. Okay. So first up is my my buddy and faculty colleague, Mark Van Dyke, who of course did the FDA lectures and came in person this year from the University of Arizona to do that. James Ramey, who is an old hand now and always gives a well-received lecture. You know, I've told him that he really should be a teacher and not a venture capitalist. For some reason, he stays a venture capitalist. Mark Mondry from main campus, the leader of the launch program, who gives a wonderful lecture on finances. And also Sammy Lamouille and Spencer Marsh, two Fralin Biomedical researchers who are venturing into the startup space. And Sammy, of course, is also a primary faculty within the Institute. I'd like to say thanks to our business mentors, many of whom are old hands, including Greg Feldman, who couldn't be with us today. His wife, as I understand it, is not well. Cynthia Lawrence, thank you, Cynthia. Francis Farrell, thanks again, Francis. Marty Muscatello. Marty, Cynthia, and Francis are all also old hands at this competition, and so they kind of know the score. But also this year, Eric McNair, who's one of our new business mentors, and really has brought some energy and enthusiasm that was great to see. So thanks, Eric. It's really appreciated. We have our student mentors, so senior graduate students who have given up their time to mentor the teams. Emily Terrell, Mason Wheeler, Megan Sadovi, Mary Frazier, and Kavya Aya. So thank you, guys. Like many of you have also done this for multiple years now, and we really appreciate your input, and really important in sort of passing on knowledge from one year to the next. You know, this is an unusual course, and your input in providing understanding to the students as to what you went through and what the point of it all is just very helpful. Our judges, Mike Friedlander, the Institute Director. Thank you, Mike. Ford Kemper, another old hand. Thank you, Ford. And James Ramey. And a new judge this year, Debbie Petrine. Thank you so much, Debbie. And I'd also like to mention our sponsors, Ford as the representative, Woods, Roger, Van der Venter and Black. Did I say that right? Yes. Have been generous sponsors of this competition for many years now, and it's just really appreciated. And Mike also very generous contribution to the prize money that will be distributed to the winning teams. A couple of final thanks. I'd like to thank our communication team, including John and our AV guy, Brad. Thank you very much, guys. And then finally, in some ways, this is the most important thank you of all, my accomplice, Linda, who is just wonderful. Linda basically runs this course. She understands the machine and makes it work into a well-oiled machine. So thank you so much, Linda. All right. With that, a few instructions on the competition itself. So we have a prescribed sequence for the teams as they present. You will have 7 minutes. You will not have more than 7 minutes. Linda will indicate to me when there's a minute to go. And then when the 7 minutes is up, I will cut you off. And no matter what you have to say, that will be it. And then you will have 3 minutes and maybe 3 minutes plus for questions. 5 minutes. Okay. 5 minutes. 3 minutes. Well, 3 minutes plus 5 minutes. What's the difference? And then at that point, I will close the team's pitch down, and we will proceed to the next team. Then, after the competition is over, the judges will retire and confer, and the decisions will be made as to is it first, second, and third? The first, second, and third place teams. And these will be announced at the reception that will follow. When does the... Okay. So yeah, while the judges are deliberating, go to the reception, and then we will announce it during the reception. So last thing to say is, well done. I appreciate all your hard work. I know you have worked hard and worked well, and I just want to wish each of you and each of your teams good luck. All right. So with that, let's call upon the first team. Here we go. Okay. So, excuse me. I'd like to invite to present our first team, Pulmwell.
Good afternoon. My name is Laura, and I'd like to introduce my colleagues, Alec, Yunra, and Alyssa. Here at Pulmwell, we're here to broadly usher in a new era of precision medicine for pulmonary disease management. This is Anna. She's a spunky 5-year-old who's well loved by her grandparents and parents. While she was playing in the park with her family, she began experiencing some breathing difficulties and was rushed to the ER. When she got to the ER, due to the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic, she was unable to receive the standard of care spirometry and was unable to get a baseline for her lung function. It took 2 years for Anna to be able to receive this test after the pandemic, and her family lived a very careful and sheltered life as they had no way to monitor her disease. The global burden of asthma has increased significantly in the last few decades, with 11% of the US population suffering from the disease, and the highest burden being in countries with a high human development index. Asthma is a disease that does not discriminate by age and is a lifelong chronic condition that can only be managed through medicine and care, but not cured. 1 in 12 people suffer from asthma in the United States. 10 people suffer from an asthma attack and die every day. These deaths are preventable with proper monitoring and care. In 2013, the annual economic burden of asthma was $81.9 billion, which is only expected to increase with the prevalence of environmental triggers, pollutants, and diseases.
Thank you, Laura. Despite the high prevalence of asthma and the rate of potential of preventable deaths in America, there are currently no adequate treatments currently on the market for monitoring and diagnosing asthma symptoms. The current standard of care, spirometry, is expensive and bulky and does not provide any real-time monitoring techniques. In addition, current handheld devices are provide very low sensitivity due to the inability to measure stable biomarkers using these devices, leading to high patient variability, which is detrimental for the field of emergency medicine. Evidently, there is a major need for a new technology to enter the market. As a result, our mission here at Pulmwell is to develop a novel device for the diagnosis and monitoring of airway inflammation to revolutionize the field of pulmonary management. That brings us to our solution, the PulmSense. So this device is an easy-to-use, portable, and all-in-one non-invasive asthma monitoring device. To do so, all the user has to do is exhale into the mouthpiece here, and the sample is then condensed and turned into an exhaled breath condensate sample, or EBC, all within this device. Still within the device, the EBC sample, which contains the nitrate, which is our biomarker for inflammation, is then passed through our patented reduced graphene oxide sensor. Through cyclic voltammetry techniques, the level of nitrate is then measured and displayed on the side of the device onto the screen, from there indicating the degree of airway inflammation present in the user. As mentioned previously, the current competition of the market are the standard of care, which is spirometry, and other new devices such as the VitalFlow and Pheno by NIOX, which are other handheld devices. But what makes us different from the competition is that these other two handheld devices are extremely expensive to use, often costing the user thousands of dollars to acquire a device just like this. However, that leads to a high degree of inaccessibility. In addition, the other two competitors do not use the reduced graphene oxide sensor, which leads to the inability to quantify a stable biomarker, often leading to high patient variability, high degrees of false and negative readings. And it is evident that Pulmwell checks all of these boxes.
Thank you, Anik. Now I'm very excited to announce our hybrid business model for getting our PulmSense devices to the community through 3 different phases. In the phase 1, which is direct selling our products, which is one of our main revenue streams through both the B2C model and the B2B models. So we are targeting about the 27 million asthma patients in the US and also around the 25,000 urgent care facilities, PCP, and ERs. And transition from phase 1 to phase 2, we announced a Nova opt-in subscription services, which including the mouse filter replacement, as well as our Argo sensor replacements. We also estimate around 1.3 million subscribers to our monitor app, which can collect our real-time patient data and create a platform to communicate with their health providers. Last but not least, at the phase 3, we're going to licensing those anonymous data from the app to targeting around the 1,200 farm research institute and the health agencies. Here, I want to share our development milestones for our companies. So currently, we have already received the 510K FDA clearancing for type 2 medical devices. We also received the licensing from the Rochester University, and we are actively do our grant applications through the whole years about our company's development. At the beginning of the 2024, we aim to have our product manufacturing and distribution. 1 year later, we will launch our filter replacement subscription services, and following by the app subscription services at the 26th. And at the year of the 27th, we are going to launching those data from our apps. And here is an example of our projected cash flow for the next few years. So you can see there is a exponential growth rate. However, you may notice there like 75 negative cash flow at the year of the 24. That is why we are here looking for the outsider investors. And we are aiming at to reach a break-even point at the year of the 25 and getting the profitability at the year of the 26.
We are actively applying for grants and plan to do so throughout the course of the company. This money will help us continue with our production, development, and research to expand our product and company. Although our device is unique, we understand that other companies can pick us up along the way. These phenomenal companies specialize in pulmonology, device, and research that can help our product develop into something to help other populations. But don't just take our word for it. We've talked with many experts throughout the field, including pulmonology, emergency medicine, and family medicine, who all agree that this device can help their patients monitor their asthma both in and out of the clinic. We've also talked to other medical professionals in different fields, including equine veterinary care, pre-hospital care, and a pulmonary researcher from here at FBRI. They also agree this device is beneficial and can help populations outside of humans.
I want to share it with the judges. Mike. Okay, so
Okay, Mike Awesome, Mike McGregor, very nice, really well done. My main question is around the market need, and if I remember your chart correctly, with comparing to the other several products on the market, the two areas that you distinguish yourself particularly were in cost, and I think in stability was the last one, if I remember correctly, right? That you don't have to find the slide. That's okay. But yeah, there it was. Yeah, so stable biomarker and affordability. So I get it on the stable biomarker. The affordability, I guess I don't know enough about what the prices of the others are and stuff, so I won't go there so much. But can you just say a little bit more about convincing me to put a lot of money in this based on the stability of the biomarker, particularly with the nitrite, related back to the nitric oxide measurements and the other system?
Yeah, no problem. That's a great question. Thank you for asking. So classically, these two devices use nitric oxide rather than nitrite as a biomarker for measuring airway inflammation. However, nitric oxide is often unstable and disassociates into nitrite itself, even though that's the commonly used biomarker to measure. However, using a reduced graphene oxide sensor, which is what we have a patent on, we are then able to use cyclic voltammetry techniques and able to measure this nitrate, which our competitors are unable to do. And this nitrate is a much more stable biomarker that will stay in the system.
Great. That's what I figured you'd say that. That's perfect. But so then the next question or follow up is the graphene sensor. It really looks like that's where your real propriety is, and that's really the ball game right there. So I just want to make sure I understand the clarity of the ownership of the IP on the sensor and how protected that is, because that's the ball game, I think.
Yeah. So currently what our IP is for, in regards to the reduced graphene oxide sensor, is within this context. So no other company until 2038 is able to monitor any asthma or any airway inflammation within a user using the reduced graphene oxide sensor. Yeah.
So my question as a non-clinician or scientist, I may have overlooked it, but do you see other applications for this? I assume you do, and could you just touch on those?
So we spoke to a lot of other clinicians and researchers, and they think that there's the potential for us to go into other inflammatory respiratory diseases such as cystic fibrosis or pulmonary fibrosis, as well as the potential to go into the large animal market, as horses also have asthma and can be used to study public health.
Okay, thank you.
Do you think you're going to need to run clinical studies to get this on the market?
We have already had a clinical trial done and it is published in Nature, so that has already been done.
What do you see as your single biggest threat or point of failure?
I think our single biggest threat would be the inability, or the other companies taking advantage in the development of similar products to this, while they can't use the Argo sensor as well, that other companies might be able to develop an alternative measure to measure other types of inflammatory biomarkers. And that's why it's important that we get this funding now, so we can start the generation and manufacturing of these to corner the market as well.
Well, with that, thank you. I'd like to invite up my yeah, thank you. Thank you.
I don't know.
All right, there's should be two.
I do not.
Yeah, we gotta. Exit out.
Right.
How do you? Just a space.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, folks.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. My name is Blakely Lockhart, and I am the CEO of Megamind Technologies. We are asking for $200,000 in exchange for 20% equity in our company. Firstly, I'd like to introduce our team, Jenna, Samraksha, Kaleb, and Nicole. I'm going to pass it off to Jenna to explain our technology.
For every 1,000, can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. For every 1,000 live in-term births, 3.25 infants are affected by neonatal seizures, with a higher proportion seen in preterm infants. Neonatal seizures are defined as sudden dysregulated electrical activity in the infant brain. Cerebral palsy and epilepsy are two conditions that can be indicated by neonatal seizures and have an abundant amount of NIH funding annually. Current detection methods like blood tests and EEG are inefficient and expensive, and we address that with our product. So our product, I'm going to grab it really quick. Our product is compatible with OPM MEG technology, or optically pumped magnetoencephalography, a type of neuroimaging. And our product is the first successful iteration of a MEG cap made specifically for infants. And it was actually invented here at FBRI. To use the cap, sensors are placed into the sensor ports, where they pick up magnetic waves that are then transmitted to a computer, where an investigator can observe and record the data. No.
Okay.
We will be offering 3 standard sizes of the cap: small, medium, and large. And we will also be offering a customizable option that will address the 20 to 50% of infants that have cephalic abnormalities. Next. So here you see previous attempts of pediatric med caps. On the top is the soft cap, which has a limitation of not being able to withstand the weight of the sensors, causing a lot of slippage and poor image quality. On the bottom, you see a iteration of the hard cap, which is clearly bulky and too heavy for infants with undeveloped neck muscles. When creating our cap, we considered these limitations. So here you see our cap, the Megamind cap, and it's created out of PLA and TPU polymer, which allows for it to be lightweight, heat resistant, allows for free movement, and it's generally easier to use.
All right, so filling this gap with our innovative products, our markets pool would include all 146 R1 research institutions in the US. Based on our collaboration with the Mind Lab here in FVRI, we know for a fact that there are a number of universities in the US, like Yale and Stanford, as well as some institutions in Europe, that have already shown strong interest in our products for pediatric neuro research. And we expect this global demand of our products to grow in the years to come. However, for our initial phase of our business, we will be focusing on the domestic markets whilst we make plans to expand into the global domains. As a business, we know for a fact that there are other neuroimaging systems in the markets, like MRI and EEG. but we base our products on the OPMX system because it provides a high imaging resolution and deep source localization of brain mapping, as well as a very competitive pricing, as well as awake imaging in infants as compared to MRI. Let's be clear, in the OPMX system, there is no product like ours in the market that allows for unrestricted infant neuroimaging. Our only competitor, the Seca Cup, but they're not really a competitor because their product is only designed for adolescents and adults. And based on the novelty of our products, as already described by Jenna, our CSO, our product is infant-friendly, it is lightweight, it incurs low production cost, and can be customized to fit the heads of babies.
So here we have an outline of our company's timeline to breaking even. In this year, we have submitted our patent application, and next year, 24, we anticipate that moving to a provisional patent status. 2024, we also plan to apply for an STTR through the NIH, where we could be granted $300K to $2 million to assist with company buildup. In 25, we anticipate moving to full acceptance, which grants us exclusivity until 2045. At the end of 25 is when investors can anticipate seeing returns. 26, we plan to begin an FDA approval process through a 510K application to prepare for an opening clinical market. And at the end of 26 is when our company anticipates breaking even, with details from our CFO.
Thank you. And I would like to start with a breakdown to our projection. Per Research Institute, we expect an order of 10 caps, that is 6 standard caps marketed at $1,500 each and customized caps at $2,000 each, which brings us to our total of $17,000 per Research Institute per year. With so much of already expressed interest in our product in scientific community, we can expect at least 15 of them to participate in our technology in the first year, with our anticipation that it's going to grow by 8 per year, including renewals and new research institutes, through which we came up with expectations of like revenue per year as follows. By the start of the company that starts at 2024 will start generating revenue by the start of 2025, and with an profit margin as high as 95.5% per cap, the investors will begin to see returns by the end of the year 2025 itself. And within the end of 2026, the company will break even.
Can you hear me? Okay, there we go. Before we conclude, we would like to thank our collaborators, the Maternal Influence on Neurodevelopment Lab, or MIND Lab, that is right here at FBRI, run by Dr. Brittany Howell, who developed the technology. We would also like to give a special thank you to our business consultant, Marty Buscatello, whose advice has been invaluable, and Mason Wheeler, our operations consultant, who has kept us on the right path. Roanoke Valley is a tech innovation corridor between DC, Richmond, and Charlotte. It is a prime location. The partnerships already established right here by Virginia Tech and Carillion make it so successful to grow biotech innovations. With that, we also are proud to develop technology right here at FBRI, created by students who are in this audience and up here, and serve our surrounding communities. With that, thank you so much for considering investing in our company.
Perfect timing. You did well.
Thank you.
Just grab one of those microphones. Okay.
All right. So first of all, really terrific presentation. Quick, you listened to my lecture is what happened. No. So quick question for you on your financial analysis. Why are you only concentrating on the research market as opposed to diagnosis and treatment?
So currently, MEG technology currently is FDA approved, but our cap and the specific sensors that we use for our cap are in the FDA process, so they're not ready yet to be in the clinical market. We do know that there are high trends in the research field, as you can see by these PubMed numbers. So our phase 1 is focusing domestic, then we plan to look internationally. Phase 3, since we anticipate it being around a decade for the clinical market to open due to the FDA approval process taking some time, that's when we anticipate the clinical market. Did that answer your question?
We also don't own the sensors. That's something important. So we don't have a control over that.
So another company would have to get the sensors approved and then you would.
But they're in the approval process. Yeah.
So two questions. When you look at the cost, as you know, it's very expensive to build a magnetically shielded room to house this and make it work. So I hope I'm asking you whether you've incorporated in the expected cost that you'll be negotiating with companies. And related to that, you just talked about the company QSpin, whoever is making your sensors. They're adapting those, of course, all the time. They're changing. The size will change, the geometry, the weight. How adaptable is your helmet to their changing sensors? So the two questions: cost to the shielded room, adaptability to the QSpin sensors.
So our patent is only for the cap, and unfortunately, we do not have any control over the expense of the new room, is what you're referring to do this technology. However, we do expect a lot of universities to be doing this shortly or gaining these systems. It is cheaper than MRI to put in a building, depending on the size room, of course. So that's why we expect there to be an increase in development there.
Can I add? You were also asking about how we anticipate the sensors might be changing, and we might. So if you look at our cap, we have specific ports that can be taken in and out, and our engineering team will be able to customize those with the changing sensors.
So just to follow up on the other question about expanding beyond the research market, if you want to use this in the clinic, EEG, of course, is cheap as dirt. EEG is not as good for some reasons yet, but the cost in a larger clinical market and reimbursement, incorporating the cost of the mu room, et cetera, could become a factor, right? That's something you'll have to consider. Yeah.
On your financial analysis slide, you said that I think in 2025, investors would start to see a return, but then you also say that you don't break even until like 2026 or 27. So how are investors going to get a return if you're not yet break even?
So what we're asking for investors is like $200,000 of investment, but then the rest of 200,000 investment, we expect that to come from undiluted grants and like our profit margin being so high. So like as soon as we hit the mark of 200K, we'll start giving investors the return. And once we hit the benchmark of 400K, that's when the company will be break even. Thank you.
Thank you.
And what percentage return to the investors are you expecting?
20% equity.
Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you very much, team. All right, my next favorite cardio visual problem.
How do you do it from the starts like Control L? Fancy. Let's go back.
Ready, Linda? Okay, you ready, Max? Okay, here we go. 7 minutes.
Greetings, everyone. We are CardioVision Technologies, and our mission is to integrate our CardioSight technology into the standard of care for optimizing the placement of implanted cardioverter defibrillators, ICDs, improving effectiveness of intervention, and preventing adverse complications in pediatric and congenital heart disease patients. Congenital heart disease, abbreviated CHD, are malformations of the heart that occur during prenatal development. About 1 in every 100 babies is born with CHD, making it the most common birth defect. They can range from mild to severe, but often require surgery and lifelong treatment for patients to remain healthy. The common comorbidity with CHD are cardiac arrhythmias, which are irregular beatings of the heart that can be fatal. The most common treatment for these arrhythmias is a device called an implanted cardioverter defibrillator, or an ICD. These devices are implanted, and when they detect an arrhythmia, they administer an electric shock to the heart to return the heart to a safe and healthy rhythm. The current standard for ICDs is this device here called a transvenous ICD, or TV-ICD. The wires that are attached to the heart run through the veins, and prior to installation, a transvenous procedure called an electrophysiology study is performed to determine optimal placement and shock energy for the device. A lot of CHD patients end up having abnormal anatomy, and they don't have this transvenous access. So they cannot have an EP procedure, and they cannot get a TV-ICD. They are instead given a device called an SICD, or subcutaneous ICD, where the leads are implanted under the skin, or in some cases on the surface of the heart. These devices are often less effective than TV-ICDs because they do not directly contact the heart, and determining optimal placement is difficult since a standard EP study cannot be performed. I am one of these 1 in 100 babies who was born with CHD. I was born with a condition called atrioventricular septal defect. As part of my treatment, I've had 3 open heart surgeries, and when I was 14, I received a TV-ICD. I've had this device for almost 10 years, and throughout that time, it has kept me very safe and has been very effective treatment. However, the procedures that I've had to get have been very invasive and have been both physically and mentally difficult for myself and my family. So one goal of our technology is to reduce the amount of invasive and difficult procedures that CHD patients have to endure when getting an ICD. So this is where our technology comes in. Our technology is called CardioSight. It is a computational modeling software that allows electrophysiologists to create electrophysiologically active models of a patient's heart and torso using standard resolution, minimally invasive magnetic resonance imaging data. And though it ends up coming out looking like a weird green ball of spaghetti, the model allows doctors to interrogate the tissue of the heart virtually to determine optimal placement and shock energy for an SICD without the need for an invasive EP study.
Our MRI-based CardioSight technology has several advantages over the standard of care. CardioSight offers precise placement of ICDs non-invasively prior to implantation. There's low risk of reinstallation. There's reduced shock energy as opposed to the current standard of care that has the potential to increase the shock energy in patients that can lead to cardiac tissue damage, trauma, or even mortality. Also, there's no exposure to radiation as opposed to the current standard of care that uses fluoroscopy. We have a highly experienced pediatric cardiologist and pediatric electrophysiologist, Dr. Jennifer Silva from Washington University School of Medicine, St. Louis. She understands our technology as well as its value proposition. Our business consultant, Eric McNair, is well versed in the business landscape, and our IP consultant has been guiding us through every process of the development.
We felt that it was best to model our market after the pre-existing ICD market, specifically the SICD market, considering that we would be used in conjunction with them. Between the years 2022 to 2033, we believe that we will have a compound annual growth rate of 15%. And then by the year 2033, we believe that the market will be a value of $12.4 billion. Our process, we have already published most of our research and development in a peer-reviewed article. And we are asking for funding through our preclinical studies, which we believe will take 2 years in length. And we would like to take 50 patients and take MRI image sets and continue to grow our data so that we can account for those unique heart anatomy. And then we hope to get acquired by the time that we are done with our preclinical study. And our acquiring company will take over for FDA approval, doing the 510(k) review process.
So as Mackenzie already mentioned, the software development team at Johns Hopkins already did the basic research and has published studies in the product's early efficacy. They've submitted the patent and it's been approved and doesn't expire until 2035. Our team would like to take over at this point and conduct our preclinical trials. We estimate that to take 1 to 2 years, evaluating approximately 50 patients to compare the results of an EP study to our MRI imaging software to confirm that our product matches, or if not, is better than the EP findings. We are seeking $2 million to cover the cost, cover the cost of salaries, the MRI studies, and any software tweaking that may need to occur. In 2026, we hope to seek acquisition for $60 million. This includes a 15 times return of investment for our investors. 5% would go back to the team at Johns Hopkins, and then our team would take over the rest. In the event that we do not get acquisition, we would take over the 510(k) approval process, which is only additional $20,000 to $30,000, and would continue to seek from there. Okay.
All right, questions, Mike.
So I want to make sure to preface my question with a very quick statement. I think it's a great idea. I've always wondered about the precision of the placement for these things and how much real computational analysis went in. It makes perfectly good sense to me. I love it. However, what I want to be data driven and not just based on my gut there. Tell me what data you have that the current placement without this computational approach fails, resulting in death for failure to convert, for example. What are the numbers of failure with the current technology?
Okay.
So I can't tell you exact numbers, but I do know that the subcutaneous ICDs a lot of the time, because of lead placement in certain areas that they put it in, and it's not always the best, that they can fail, and then you have to redo the entire surgery or get a completely new device because it lessens the lifespan of the device itself if you don't have, I guess, precise placements of those leads.
And to add on to that, the second or the first, the C in ICD stands for cardioverter. So those work as opposed to a defibrillator, which is one big shock. A cardioverter paces the heart out of a harmful shock. Without this optimal placement, you can't do that with these devices. And that is a often more effective and less traumatic therapy than a full defibrillator shock.
So it sounds like you have a pretty good sense that the current technology does have failures, but I'm still not hearing numbers, but I understand that there's a sense of it, unless you're going to give us numbers.
Boston Scientific, there's 3 to 4% lead malfunction rates.
Malfunction based on placement?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. And then just secondly, quickly, you mentioned in one of the slides preclinical studies, and the little cartoon you had in there showed a little baby inside an MRI. And so my question is, for preclinical, are you talking, I presume, about animal work, and is that part of what you're proposing?
No, so for our preclinical study, we would like to look specifically just take MRI data from adolescents and people with CHD. So we would just be comparing images and placement. So we wouldn't actually be having to give them an ICD. We would be looking at, I guess, where our technology tells you compared to where a doctor would normally put those ICDs.
So all the animal work that's necessary has been done. You don't need to do no. Oh, that's all done in pigs, presumably, or in small animals.
There's not a great animal model for ICDs. They're too complex to really scale down for something like a mouse or a rabbit. So all the work has been done with data from actual humans. The images used were taken from actual humans, and we're moving on from there to simply compare more data sets.
That's what we
because the devices have already been developed. So there's no additional preclinical as far as animal models that we need to do. We're instead going to compare how well our software predicts best placement for an ICD versus the current placement that a doctor would give.
So you mentioned a $12.4 billion market. So are you saying that there's $12.4 billion of potential revenue that you can capture?
So currently, like that's the estimated for ICDs in general. So
Meaning including the devices, the procedures, bedtime.
yes.
Okay, so that's not actually your market. What's your market?
No, our market would be a subset. So we were hoping that we would kind of take over with the SICDs. And so SICDs are becoming the leading trend, or leading segment, I guess, in that market itself. So we're hoping to just kind of move in with the SICDs, if that makes sense.
So there are 2,000 hospitals in the US alone that have electrophysiologists. So that's where these procedures would take place. I think our goal was to start at like half of that if we could get their software into those 500 hospitals to start. I couldn't find a lot of data globally. Underdeveloped countries don't necessarily have those specialties. But yes, so the US itself, there is the 2,000 hospitals and there are 200,000 ICDs that get placed every year, which equates to about 13 ICD placements per hospital annually.
And what does the solution actually look like? What would you see it being sold? Who would you be selling it to? At what cost?
Oh, you can do the
So, can you go? I have a slide for it.
Go ahead.
Let's see. This one. So our kind of target company was Boston Scientific. They're the lead SICD company. Our idea that it being a software, we're looking at units being months. So we're looking at a subscription-based plan. You get paid for the licensing software every month. And so if Boston Scientific were to take over, they would need approximately 100,000 months worth of subscription to break that $60 million acquisition break-even point. In terms of hospitals, as you can see, that's how many years versus how many hospitals they would hit that break-even point.
All right. Thank you very much, Kathy.
Yeah, just exit and then what right here. Can I just exit out?
Yeah.
Okay. And here we are. Great, thank you. Yeah, that works. Sorry. You want this or do you just want to use this? Okay, yeah, that sounds good to me.
Yes.
All right. 7 minutes. Good luck.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you so much for hearing our pitch today. We are presenting our product Oncotech today, which is a tumor margin localizer. Before going deep into it, I would like to share one of my real-life experiences with you. This beautiful young woman is my sister-in-law. So she was diagnosed with breast cancer in 2019. After having tumor resection surgery, radiation chemotherapy, she was cancer-free in 2020. But we were devastated when the tumor came back in early 2023, and eventually she passed away May this year. So last year in US, nearly 2 million people were diagnosed with cancer, and over a quarter of them died. If we just focus on the breast cancer alone here, after having surgery and all other treatments, 40% of them will have the tumor recurrence, and 44% of them will die. So this is not happening only with the breast cancer. So we are losing battle here for these other types of cancer as well because of the tumor recurrence. The surgeons and oncologists are targeting a large area of the healthy tissue along with the cancer tissue to eliminate the cancer from the body. But why they can't target only the cancer tissue? It's because the tumor margin localizers currently available in market are unable to target the tumor margin with accuracy. They are causing unnecessary healthy tissue damage during the radiation therapy. they are creating discomfort to the patients, and they can provide only the 2D images, which makes it really difficult to identify the tumor bed. So what can save millions of lives today is a device that can target the tumor margin with maximum accuracy.
I present to you OncoTag, a medical device that consists of 6 surgical grade titanium clips that are placed around the tumor margins and within the tumor bed to help make radiation therapy more accurate. The process is really pretty simple. A surgical oncologist will go in, remove the tumor, place the clips around the margin and within the bed, and then when a patient goes to see a radiation oncologist, this clinician will now be able to actually visualize where that tumor was in 3 dimensions. And what that means is that their treatment is going to be that much more accurate, that much more targeted, that much more localized. And as Rabea mentioned, when that treatment is more localized, more targeted, there is going to be minimal excess tissue damage than what is being targeted. But okay, so I see some frown faces. You might be wondering, well, why can't you just use regular surgical clips? What's up with that? What makes OncoTag special? What makes it different? Great question. So OncoTag comes in a sterile unit of 6 clips that are individually distinct from one another, either by a set of letters or shapes. And what this does is it is making our clips radiologically distinct from traditional surgical ligation clips that might also be in the surgical site, maybe because a vessel had to be closed. And again, we are minimizing unnecessary tissue damage. Best yet, that's only one of the clinical advantages of using our tech, which Rebecca is going to talk about more. I clicked it.
Currently on the market, we have 3 main competitors, which include BioZorb, which is a 3D bioabsorbable implant, and BioXmark and Traceit, which are both liquid fiducials or hydrogels. OncoTag proves to be at the top of the market in accuracy, durability, comfort, translatability, and market price. As Maddie previously mentioned, since OncoTag is made with durable titanium material, it is able to last much longer. And since it has letter labeling and different sizes and shapes available, it is able to accurately locate the tumor cavity margins better than the others on the market. And since it is made of an inert material of titanium, it allows for better comfort to the patients. And what really separates OncoTag from others on the market is its ability to be able to be used for other cancer types. And finally, our market price is considerably lower than the others on the market, as Andrew will later explain. But first, Roxana is going to go over our implementation plan.
Thank you, Rebecca. OncoTag will be first marketed toward university-affiliated hospitals in the state of Virginia, nonprofit hospitals, and hospital that has branches all over the United States. In addition, we will attend national cancer conferences to present and sell our product to potential buyers, such as surgical oncologists. In addition to geographical expansion, once we have established a loyal consumer base, we will go beyond breast cancer and target other types of cancers as well.
Thank you. Now, let's talk about money, because at the end of the day, we are asking for a $300,000 investment, and we want you to know exactly where we're going to be spending that money. So first of all, if you just fly over these numbers, you'll see that we have a low cost for manufacturing. This is a very low cost, high production product. OncoTag can be produced once we had the facilities mass produced for pennies on the dollars. So you will also see our facility startup cost is high, but after the first years, once we built them, those will go down significantly. And then, as Ms. Roxana mentioned, we have a diversified revenue stream. So we will have a higher cost for marketing, but it will be worth it. As you see in year 1, we will just be testing our feet, getting our feet wet in the water, seeing how the market is. And then in year 2, we plan to implement this aggressive marketing strategy. We'll be going to 8 to 10 conferences. So there will be a bit of an overhead then, but the return on that investment will begin to come in the 3rd year when we break even in the 1st quarter. And by the end of the third year, we expect about a $300,000 profit. And in year 4 and year 5, we'll continue to grow our brand, to continue to grow Oncotag, and you, the investors, will have a 20% equity. So that will be a nice little penny for your retirement. And we could keep growing indefinitely, but eventually, once we become the standard of care for tumor margin treatment, companies will begin to take interest in us. 2 of those that we found based on market research are Dylan Technologies and Ethicon. And we would like to thank our management team, especially Dr. Habibi, as well as our wonderful advisory board, especially Mrs. Lawrence, and especially thanking you, the judges, for your time and for your investment.
All right, questions. Okay, Demi.
So what is your biggest challenge in bringing this forward to the market and the ultimate goal?
Our biggest challenge, I would say, as far as biology is, this is very safe, very inert metal. Surgical clips are already used commonly. I'd say as far as finances go, the challenge is going to be getting the name out quickly, because it is similar to other products. But think about, in carpentry, if anyone's familiar with carpentry, you have 2 different types of screws, drywall screws and wood screws. There didn't always used to be those 2 types, but now there are. And if you use a drywall screw on drywall, it's just better. It's the way that you need to do it to make the wall last longer. That's how Oncotag is going to work for tumor margins.
So do you know if there are others working on a very similar technology that you've developed? Yeah.
So as we mentioned, there are a few competitors, none of which are specifically of the kind of surgical clip, because a lot of physicians, if they're not using kind of one of those novel approaches, they're just using regular surgical clips. And in theory, there's not a problem with that. What happens though is, say there is a surgical clip in that field when a radiation oncologist goes to scan the area, that's not part of the tumor margin. That's more tissue that's getting irradiated and therefore more damage. So we're not personally aware of any other business that's working on specifically clips. And I suspect it's because people are like, well, it's good enough, but it's not.
Thank you.
Sasan? Yeah, thanks. A couple quick questions. Just number one, movement of clips. So both in the breast tissue, but then you proposed a whole bunch of other solid tumors. So what degree, if any, movement do you expect? And also, as you know, the margins can be rather irregular. And so how many clips do you need if it's not just a nice sphere? We have a few fiducial markers here to actually outline it. So.
Yeah. Movement shouldn't be any different than a traditional surgical clip. So there is a little bit, but some scar tissue will develop. There will be some hardening of the area, which doesn't sound ideal, except when you compare it to our competitors, which there's currently a class action lawsuit against Biosorb because it's protruding out of people's skin. So I would say ours is better than that. And then, sorry, what was your second question?
No, that's all your regular shapes,
right?
And how many you might need versus a simple sphere,
right? So, it comes in a sterile pack of 6. Physician only wants to use 4. That's fine. If they need 8, they open another pack. Now, every clip within that pack of 6 will be individually distinct. If you open a second pack, it brings up the question of, well, it's no longer individually distinct. You can still tell it from a regular clip, but all of the clips that are in that site will not be individually distinct. So it definitely brings up a question of, if this becomes the standard of care, which I'm pretty confident it's going to be, maybe we're making kind of add-ons that can be sold to physicians as well, a set of 3 that you can add if you need 8, or smaller packs even for other types of tumors. That's certainly a direction it can go. Our CEO, who's fantastic, Dr. Habibi, is a breast cancer surgeon, and he specifically discussed, typically he's using between 5 to 6. So we decided our first approach would be 6 clips.
And what about the cost of the additional time of the surgeon and the OR for doing this? How does it factor into your model?
Yeah, absolutely. So at this, well, does anyone else want? No, you want to take it? I'll take it. Okay.
We've accounted for the additional costs of using a different pack in the financial plan.
How much time is it factor in for the surgeon additional to do this?
It would only take about 15 extra minutes.
What does that cost for the breast surgeon?
A lot, but I mean, that's not on us. That's a cost that is covered by the patient and by the insurance, not by the people who are buying this.
I'm going to go against my teammate here a little bit. When talking to Dr. Habibi and working through this, and he's currently working through manufacturing and actually materials testing right now. If a clinician is already placing surgical clips, this is the exact same applicator. Shouldn't add any more time. And if someone's placing something like Biosorb, which is a pretty decently large helical structure, that's going to take longer than placing the clips. So in theory, if the clips are already being placed, this isn't adding any more time.
Can you just explain to the layperson a little bit more about what it actually does and how it makes it 3D?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so. Okay, sorry. Okay, I don't need a picture. Yeah. Right.
Okay, so the current tech, 2 of them are liquid. So you're just putting that on the margin. You're only going to see circle of where the tumor was. The Biosorb is actually a helical sphere, kind of similar to, I don't know, my fist. Our tech specifically, we're saying, well, because it's going to be labeled with either a letter or a shape, the surgical oncologist is actually going to place one of our clips at the bottom of the bed. So then when they close up that surgical site, and the scanner is put over it, they're going to see, okay, there's clips all along the side, but there's also one at the base. And that kind of gives them an idea of the depth of what tissue was there.
Yeah. So I was in the cancer hospital here with 2 radiation oncologists, and they showed me how they detect the cancer bed. So for the other devices, they actually can't detect the tumor bed because it's 2D. But they have these 2 X-ray machines in 2 different walls. And if you use our device, it's gonna give them a 3D image because they are getting also the tumor bed, not only the surface. So that's how, yeah, they ensure that it's gonna give them 3D images.
Thank you.
Make sure it works. It's our clicker. This looks like the same clicker. Where's? We're just gonna check and make sure the clicker works with this format. One moment.
Flip to a presentation real quick.
Go ahead and just maximize it.
Yeah. And from the first,
yeah,
please.
Perfect. Okay, that's good. Wonderful.
All right. All right, you ready, guys?
I believe so.
Okay, let's get started.
Hello, everyone. We are Yorugami, and thank you very much for being here today. We're going to blow your mind with our novel radical technology, which will improve wound healing, foreign drug delivery, and then foreign object removal. Without much ado, let's get started.
Hi, everyone. So this is Timothy. It's Christmas Eve, and amid the festivities, Timothy unintentionally swallowed a button battery, much like this one, from one of his new toys. Panic set in as his family realized the dire need for medical attention. They quickly rushed him to the nearest hospital, where the doctors explained that the button battery could cause severe internal damage. Timothy only had 2 hours to receive the necessary medical intervention that he so needed. Now, as Timothy's health hangs in the balance, the reality of the limited treatment options become apparent. Button batteries, like this one, are ingested 3,500 times a year by children in the United States. Imagine you're Timothy's parents. Wouldn't you want a quick and easy solution to treat Timothy just in time for Christmas? Yorugami can help. As you can see, serious GI illness or distress affects the United States populations by thousands every single year. Urigami can be used to solve each of these ailments. For example, Urigami can successfully remove foreign objects as well as deliver life-saving medications for both peptic ulcer disease, GI cancer, and as well as inflammatory bowel disease. In the meantime, imagine the expenses, lives, and time that Urigami can save.
Realizing the horror from the cases like Timothy and others, Urigami has come up with a revolutionary non-invasive technology. It is an ingestible, small, foldable, and biodegradable origami robot encapsulated into ice. This simple robot can retrieve foreign object from stomach like button battery, and it can also deliver drug just like a small cargo. And so, how does our Urigami work? So it is a simple ice capsule that patient can ingest like a normal pill, and once inside into the stomach, it can self-deploy to the target location of the GI tract, and then it can retrieve the foreign object from the location and deliver the drug for wound healing, and then the retrieved object will removed from body just like normal process.
So our competition in the market are traditional endoscopy methods and capsule endoscopy methods. We believe we have a very unique technology that has the potential to thrive in this competitive landscape. Our methods, the methods used by Urigami is simplistic in nature, and it allows for use without any anesthesia. Fewer medical professionals are required to operate it, making it very cost effective, giving it a lot of benefits, as you can see. And moving on, the target market is noteworthy for a product like Urigami right now. Over the next 10 years, we expect to have market growth of approximately $25 billion. Now imagine, even if we have a market capture of around 1.5%, we expect to generate a revenue of around $500 million. Isn't that quite significant? We expect to begin our pilot study with SBIR funding from NIH in 2024. By 2025, we will be utilizing much of our seed funds to apply for FDA submission and our 510(k) application. We'll be collaborating with companies like Delve, and in 2026, they will aid us in distributing our product into different healthcare facilities in Virginia, like Carilion Clinic. In 2028, we anticipate to move into the greater US market with collaborations with HCA Healthcare and Abbott Laboratories, which are big multinational companies that have the potential to make our product reach a bigger target market and the population that we're targeting. And by 2030, we expect to have an international patent application ready and set out so that our product can go out in the world, in the global market, and create a bigger impact in lives and the world.
All right, so we are looking for a $1.5 million investment from you today, in combination with our NIH, SBIR funding, personal and family funding, and angel investor funding. We expect to spend the largest portion of that funding on research and development through our human outcomes trials, preclinical and pilot studies. We'll also need a substantial portion for facilities and materials set up to get us up and running, salaries for our employees, and to get our product out there in the market, as well as the actual expense of the 510(k) application. This is our approximate revenue projections over the first several years of our operation. We expect to break even in about year 4 after we launch into the US market, and substantially increase from there as we expand across the US and throughout the globe.
So, in order for us to achieve our aim of drastically improving the wound healing industry and then removal of foreign objects from the system, our team is made up of diverse experts, and I'm so happy to be leading this team. We have Jacob as our CFO, we have Diruba as our medical engineer, we have Christina as our marketing officer, and then our head of customer discovery is Carly. And we are privileged to have the service of Dr. Farrell, who is the senior director of R&D of Carilion Clinic, and then a seasoned business consultant, Megan as our business advisor. So we believe and we are passionate about our product. We know that when we get Yorugami out there, we would be able to spare this little team from all the pains, missing schools, and also save healthcare providers some resources and time to do other important things. Once we get this out, we are saving money, we are saving resources. A simple capsule like Yorugami can save life. Thank you very much.
All right, Mike, you got your hand back. All right.
Safety and efficacy. On the safety side first, I'm just envisioning dragging this external magnet and moving this little thing through the GI system, and the tortuosity of the GI system, particularly in 3 dimensions, is great. And so I'm envisioning my grandkids who play with this little magnet game, and there's a magnet underneath, and you get farther away, and obviously the field strength drops. So you have to have a strong enough magnetic field to keep attachment to get it to where you want to go, but not too strong. You're going to pull that little thing and rip the lining of the intestine. So just from a safety and efficacy point of view, I'm trying to understand where you are and what's going to be done.
So I can answer this. You guys are okay. So as far as safety and efficacy goes, trials have already been conducted in animals and in human models. It uses a small neodymium magnet, which is strong enough to get through, but has been shown not to pinch any of the structures in between in the models they've used to represent this so far.
So how do you see in the body? How can you see where it is inside?
Sorry to answer again. Do you want to? Okay.
That's a great so, yeah, I can see your point. Actually, our product, we have studied it in animal model as well as a organ model, which just mimic human gastrointestinal tract, exactly the stomach. However, we haven't conduct any clinical trial yet. That's why we can't exactly like say how we are going to see the product or monitor the technology. That's why we are planning to do a pilot study where we can employ some other technologies like ultrasound and X-ray and some sensor techniques, so that we can monitor both, not only the our robot but also the foreign objects.
Okay, and I am not. I'm very much a layperson, but like in interventional radiology, when you put in a well, whatever you call it, they have to load. I think they X-ray. So what type of doctor would be doing this? And
thank you. That's actually a really great question. So our point with this product is that we don't need a certified surgeon to run this protocol. So any healthcare professional who gets to be in the OR, or any healthcare professional in the beginning phase can, once the product has been ingested, you can use an external magnet to make sure it reaches the target area. So it doesn't require a board certified surgeon to do this protocol. So with that, we're trying to save a lot of resources and a lot of time in terms of surgeons, and also if looking into the hospital and healthcare industries, we're saving a lot of money and time.
So for your regulatory pathway, you said 510K. Who's the predicate device?
So the predicate device for this one is CapsoCam. It's a similar capsule endoscopy technology that is ingestible. And in addition, they went through a 510K previously. So there are predecessors to this device.
So then how do you stack up against them from a competitive standpoint?
The capsule endoscopy is primarily used for imaging. We have a lot more applications in the fact that we can do targeted drug delivery and foreign object retrieval with less risk to the patient.
Adding on to that, our device is also biodegradable, and CapsoCam does not have that feature yet. So removing the device from inside, it would be much easier with our.
I can explain the structure. So actually it has a outer layer which is ice capsule, and the inner body is a biodegradable 3-layer material, and we have a small tiny magnet in the body just to guide the robot to the exact location of the wound, so that we can patch the wound or we can retrieve the foreign object. So this is the basic structure, and we emptied our drug just the layer of the body, and this drug the body will deliver the drug to the wound. Does it?
I can add just a little more to that. It has been shown that ingestion of these small magnets is not of risk or harmful to patients. And they are passed normally. So the rest of the device is biodegradable. And if the magnet is left, it will pass normally with no risk to the patient.
So just one last thing, you've emphasized repeatedly the foreign object ingestion. And I think your numbers were 3,500. Is that right, per year?
Specifically for button batteries for children, yes.
Just for button batteries. What is the total number of ingestion of foreign objects that need extracted?
Oh, sorry. Total number, I would say upwards of 20,000.
So that's still a relatively small part of the market of the greater drug delivery for all the GI disease, I gather, right?
So for the foreign object removal, a lot of times that is used in conjunction with drug delivery, especially in the case of button batteries, like I mentioned. It only takes about 2 hours to sear through any kind of GI tissue. There was actually a kind of a small scale study run with using, I guess, ham as a mock human tissue where it actually took less than that. So along with the foreign object removal, Urigami can deliver drugs to not only remove the object, but then patch any kind of wound, like a targeted drug delivery to the specific wound.
All right, that's it. Okay. So as mentioned, I believe the reception is on now, so you can retire and chat and eat and have some beverages.